know it's weird for us now to hear diplomacy from a country's leader, considering the president is just saying things like this regarding these boat attacks.
Well, I don't think we're going to necessarily ask for a declaration of war. I think we're just going to kill people that are bringing drugs into our country. Okay? We're going to kill them. You know, they're going to be like dead. Okay.
But as the U.S. continues to bomb boats and just hope that there's traffickers aboard, Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum vocalized her opposition to such an approach.
And it was pretty amazing. But we have the Gulf of America, and there are very few boats, very, very few boats, not even fishing boats, to be honest. I don't want to do that to the fishing industry, but it's been so effective.
We have 32 people that have been killed so far, 7 individual strikes. We know that the Colombian president is alleging at least that an innocent fisherman was murdered. We know that there's a family from Trinidad who's saying that a member of their family was killed. And then it is really important that we have repatriated 2 people, one to Colombia, one to Ecuador, because that indicates that we don't have any evidence to prosecute them, that we didn't know who these guys were.
See, over the past few weeks, the Trump administration has carried out a series of air and naval strikes targeting vessels alleged to be drug trafficking boats in the Caribbean and Pacific. The way in which Trump has gone about it has left some people in disarray, even fellow Republicans like Rand Paul.
Number one, there is no fentanyl made in Venezuela. Not just a little bit, there's none being made in Venezuela. These are outboard boats that, in order for them to get to Miami, would have to stop and refuel 20 times. They're in all likely going to Trinidad and Tobago, which is an island right off of the coast of Venezuela. So there's a lot of reasons to be worried about this. But number one is the broader principle of when can you kill people indiscriminately? When you're at war. That's why when we declare war, it's supposed to be done by Congress. It's supposed to be thoughtful. It's supposed to be debated. And we're not supposed to do it willy-nilly. And then when you have war, you just kill people in the war zone. And even then there are rules of engagement. But interdicting drugs has always been a criminal activity and a criminal anti-crime sort of activity where we don't just summarily execute people. We actually present evidence and convict them.
In one of her most pointed remarks, President Claudia Sheinbaum stated, quote, "We do not agree there are international laws about the way to operate on the alleged transportation of illegal drugs or weapons in international waters. We have told this to the United States government and publicly." Now you contrast that with Trump's remarks about the situation and you see that they're not speaking the same language, clearly.
Stop drugs pouring in. They're killing 300,000 people a year. I think that's the real number, 300,000 people a year. So between that and my discussion with President Xi, I think we have never made progress like we've made.
And Mr. President, if you are declaring war against these cartels and Congress is likely to approve of that process, why not just ask for a declaration of war?
Well, I don't think we're going to necessarily ask for a declaration of war. I think we're just going to kill people that are bringing drugs into our country. Okay? We're going to kill them. You know, they're going to be like dead. Okay.
Trump's just saying to hell with international law, it's detonations without a permission slip. But as mentioned, it's not just Mexico raising an eyebrow, right? Even within the United States, cracks are showing here. Republican Senator Rand Paul openly blasted Trump on several occasions on the matter of what he called, quote, execution without process.
President Trump has authorized military strikes against suspected drug boats in the Caribbean. As you know, so far more than 20 people, Senator, have been killed in 6 different strikes. Do you believe that these strikes against these suspected drug boats are legal?
No, they go against all of our tradition. You know, when you kill someone, you should know if you're not at war, not in a declared war, you really need to know someone's name, at least. You have to accuse them of something. You have to present evidence. So all of these people have been blown up without us knowing their name, without any evidence of a crime. And for decades, if not centuries, when you stop people at sea in international waters or in your own waters, you announce that you're going to board the ship and you're looking for contraband, smuggling, or drugs. This happens every day off of Miami. But we know from Coast Guard statistics that about 25% of the time the Coast Guard boards a ship, there are no drugs. So if our policy now is to blow up every ship we suspect or accuse of drug running, that would be a bizarre world in which 25% of the people might be innocent. The other thing about these speedboats is they're 2,000 miles away from us. If they have drugs, they're probably peddling drugs to one of the islands of Trinidad or Tobago off of Venezuela. The idea that they're coming here is like, it's a huge assumption, and really shouldn't you have to present some proof? It is the difference between war and peace. In war, though, you don't ask people's name. But if they want all-out war where we kill anybody and everybody that is in the country of Venezuela or coming out, that has to have a declaration of war. It's something that is not pretty, very expensive, and I'm not in favor of declaring war on Venezuela, but the Congress should vote. The president shouldn't do this by himself.
Arguing that blowing up boats on mere suspicion violates the very rule of law conservatives claim that they wish to defend. Meanwhile, Admiral Alvin Halsey, who oversaw key operations regarding this issue, has abruptly retired, with reports from inside defense circles citing internal disagreements over the legality and ethics of these missions.
Well, I think that there is always a choice, and you're right about the demand issue, and I wish that we could do more about that. And this has been going on forever, that we have a drug consumption problem here and a drug supply problem coming from South and Latin America. So I totally get that. But when you're looking at how this fight is being executed at this particular moment, it doesn't make a lot of sense. First and foremost, the fact that no one can confirm that we've actually been taking out narco traffickers or huge drug traffickers, however you want to say it. And last week when we were talking about this, Dana had just seen the alert that the Admiral in charge of the Southern Command had resigned. And he was the one who was in charge of this. And the reporting is that he wasn't comfortable with the mission and had been pushing back within the Pentagon. And do you think he would have resigned if everything was by the book? So we have 32 people that have been killed so far, 7 individual strikes. We know that the Colombian president is alleging at least that an innocent fisherman was murdered. We know that there's a family from Trinidad who's saying that a member of their family was killed. And then it is really important that we have repatriated 2 people, one to Colombia, one to Ecuador, because that indicates that we don't have any evidence to prosecute them, that we didn't know who these guys were. Because if you did have evidence, you would bring them before a court. And I know that you're going to make fun of me, and I am prepared for it each and every day, but drug traffickers also have rights. The law applies. We should have the evidence. They should be charged with something, and they should come before a court of law. And Rand Paul was on the Sunday shows this weekend, and he said to Kristen Welker, when you kill someone, if you're not in a declared war, which we are not, Congress with the war powers, you really need to know someone's name at least. You have to accuse them of something. You have to present evidence. So all these people have been blown up without any evidence of a crime. They're also saying that it's about fentanyl, and people who analyze the area are saying that there is drugs that go through, but it's mostly cocaine and marijuana that are headed actually to Europe and to Africa. So the government story is not adding up.
When the admirals are quietly stepping off the deck and the libertarians are manning the lifeboats, you have to wonder, are we getting the full picture here? Or are we just to accept the hoorahs from Pete Hegseth as official White House statements on the legality of these executions?
In other words, to our enemies, F-A-F-O.
Here's what we know about this administration, right? When questions are asked about the job that they are doing, they do everything possible to just project strength, because the state of affairs is everything but that. The economy is in the toilet, with inflation rising to its highest point since January. Prices are on the up and up, and consumer confidence is following the same trend as Donald Trump's poll numbers.
Because of more expensive fuel and tariff-impacted goods. So let's take a little look at this with Harry Anton to run the numbers on how Americans feel about a little check-in on how Donald Trump is handling the economy so far. How's he doing?
Yeah, my mama was a doctor, and I think she'd look at these numbers and say that Donald Trump's doing absolutely awful in the minds of the American people. What are we talking about? We're talking about new lows for Donald Trump. He's hit new lows for himself. Trump's economic net approval rating hits lows with these pollsters. CNBC, look at this. Down now, minus 13 points on the net approval rating on the economy. You come to this side of the screen, it's minus 19 points among Quinnipiac. And keep in mind, we're talking about hitting record lows for Donald Trump in either his first term, which of course ended back in 2021, or his second term, which is ongoing right now. The bottom line is Donald Trump is at the lowest point ever in either of his terms.
But compare it to presidents historically.
Yeah, let's take a look at this. Donald Trump is beating himself in the way you don't want to beat yourself, record lows, but let's compare it to other presidents. Well, let's take a look here. Okay, worst economic net approval ratings at this point among presidents since 1977. In the presidency, right, this is a new Donald Trump presidency. Look at this. He's the worst for any presidency at this point. How about the second term? Come to this side of the screen. Of course, Trump's in his second term. He's the worst for any president at their second term at this point. So Donald Trump isn't just beating himself with record lows. This is the lowest for any president ever at this point in either a presidency or for a second term. Donald Trump setting the types of records you simply put do not want to set.
And what better way to deflect from all of that than just dropping some bombs from above? Am I right? The thing is, though, President Sheinbaum's refusal to simply nod along should act as a reminder to those leaders in this country that, shouldn't you be speaking out a little more on this? Like calling into question the fact that he's all but declaring war without congressional oversight. Just watch his press conference yesterday. He's openly admitting that he does not care about international law or the justice system. Take him at his own word.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.